Peacemaker. That dude just can't seem to catch a break, man. Neither can Hard Court. She specified that a lot of people call her hardcore, and that is not her name. She says that in the episode. To be honest, I called her hardcore too, even though I know it was hardcore. It just seemed like she was just hardcore, man. Something I mentioned before. This new dimension that Chris keeps going to, where his father and his brother are alive. I've noticed that it is rather bland, shall we say. It doesn't have any of the herbs and spices that, say, our world has. There's no people darker than Caucasians here. I didn't see any Asian people, Latino people, Black people, Islam. I didn't see anything. And I started to wonder. I've even asked a couple of my friends about it. And one of my friends even suggested, you're just seeing stuff. Yeah, I am seeing stuff that's actually there. And in this episode, those thoughts come to fruition. And Adebayo is over there. They decided they're going to go back to this new dimension, and they're going to get Chris, and they're going to bring him back. So Hardcore, Adebayo, Adrian, and Economos all decided they're going to trek their way into another dimension and find Chris. Okay. They're actually not the first people to do that, because Judo Master is in there floating around somewhere too. So they go over, they go into his house, they realize that is probably a better universe. It just seems better. I had been wondering about that whole lack of diversity in this universe, and I was thinking, you know what, in our universe, he was the white dragon, the father, and he was a crazy racist that did not succeed at doing what he wanted. Maybe the twist about Chris being so bad and his brother being alive and all this other stuff, there's all these twists. Maybe the twist was that the white dragon, who is now the blue dragon, is successful at doing his things. He's not a good guy. He's just better at being evil. Evil. So, in their universe, they've gotten rid of all of the melanated people. Everybody. And there's a scene, and I've been thinking there's a scene where Adebayo decides she's going to take a walk. And I'm screaming at the TV, I'm pointing at the TV, and I'm like, no, don't do it. And she's walking down the street, and then somebody gives her a weird look when they drive by. And then somebody else comes out of the house, and they're like tapping and like pointing at her. And I was like, oh, this is going to suck so bad. And then Chris's brother shows up, Keith, and he sees him, not in the uniform though, just in his truck. He sees him, and he screams, "A black." And I was thinking, a black what? But I know what he meant. I know. And he says that, and then it starts beeping his horn, and people just start running out of the house. And I'm pretty sure their intentions were not to invite her to the cookout. They were going to, to perish that young lady. So she starts running, and her cardio is better than I suspected it would be, because she's running at least a couple hundred yards before they start to catch up with her. But they're starting to catch up with her, so I'm wondering, how does she survive that? Adrian is determined to find his self in this universe, because, Peacemaker found himself in that universe, so he's like, it's got to be a me. And he does find himself, and they are identical to a flaw, except for one thing. He's like, you like spiders? I like spiders. You like this? I like that. What about Jell-O? Oh, Jell-O's great. And they're going back and forth saying things, weird things. When's your hair look the best? 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Mine too. What? They're saying these weird things to each other. And then, what about Peacemaker? Oh, I hate that guy. I love that guy. And that's the thing, because Adrian in that universe is trying to stop Peacemaker because he's a crazy racist. Adrian from our universe knows, or from the other universe, knows Peacemaker as a homicidal serial killing maniac, but he's not a racist. His father was, but he's determined not to be that. So I think that they've decided that they don't quite like each other that much. I think next episode we're going to get they're going to have to put their masks back on, but we're going to get vigilante versus vigilante and vigilante violence. And both of those guys really like to hurt people, so that ought to be good. Next episode ought to be great. There's a lot happening here. A lot of things, a lot of stuff that's going on. I think Agent Fleury is going to end up becoming the leader because he seems to have his head on straight. And Flag does not. Flag is so obsessed with getting Peacemaker that I think he's going to lose his job. And Fleury is going to be Agent Fleury in DC, Agent Fury in Marvel. So I think they're doing that. I think it's going to be a play on words, and he's going to succeed his boss. Another special guest star in this episode was pretty cool because they're bringing a lot of people over. Lex, the Flex Luthor, was in this episode, and I think from helping the government and everything, I think they're going to put him in the Suicide Squad. I think Lex is going to be in the Suicide Squad, and through that, he's going to find a way to get out of jail because he's got almost 300 years, and he can't be in the next Superman movie if he's in jail for 300 years. And if him and Superman are working together to fight Brainiac, which seems to be the premise of the next movie, I think it's going to not only just be Lex, but Lex leading the Suicide Squad to help Superman so he can get years off his sentence. And they probably gave him that many years so they could use him for a long time. But somebody as smart as Lex, you don't really want to keep that dude around because he's plotting on you all of the time. He's thinking, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. There's a movie where Lawrence Fishburne plays a government agent for a group called the Toolbox. They call themselves that. They're like a government agency, sort of off the books. They call themselves the Toolbox because their agents were specific and specialized. You can go in the toolbox and get what you needed for a particular time. Sometimes you needed a hammer, sometimes you needed a screwdriver, whatever. And he worked in the Toolbox. The movie was called Bad Company. And they're testing him. And when they're testing him, he's sitting there smoking a cigarette, he's answering the questions. They said, you tested just under genius. That's perfect. And they said, isn't genius better? I mean, smart is smart. And they tell him no, because genius tends to get bored. And when genius is bored, genius tends to plot. And when genius plots, genius tends to take over. That quote from that movie from 100 years ago, whenever that movie came out, reminds me of Lex. If they're going to try to use Lex, he's genius. He's going to plot. He's going to take over. You can't let that dude near anything. But, of course, they're going to, because it's Lex Luthor. He's always figuring his way out because he's genius. And genius always plots. So he's going to be in the next movie, and this is going to bounce. I think Peacemaker is going to bounce the DC universe into their next series of movies. And it looks looks good. It looks like under James Gunn, they're starting to get that rudderless ship, into a straight line. Because for a while I was like, nah. But now I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with the DC universe. And I'm curious where it goes. But this episode of Peacemaker, and it turns out Adrian's got like millions of dollars just sitting in his basement that he won't use because he considers it blood money. But they're going to find a use for that, I'm sure. But I would give this episode of Peacemaker 7 bags of popcorn. 7 bags of popcorn. So that's what I think about that. More importantly, what do you think about that? Now, you had a chance to see the video. Let's talk about it some more in the comments. And as always, if you like the video, if you like the content, subscribe. And then like.